Glad that you are here. I appreciate your coming and taking an interest. As you can tell, we've got quite a few empty seats here, which means I'm a great optimist, right? Okay, I think big. Like to think a lot of people are coming, but we are competing against a basketball game over there. Our girls are in a competition right now, varsity girls, and so we're competing against that. And at moments during this presentation, I may wish I was actually over there, even though I'm giving the presentation. So it is good to have you here. If any of you would like to indulge me and move up to maybe even here, you're great. This is maybe worse than a pastor gets. What do you think, Pastor Duke? Is this worse than that? But anyways, I trust that tonight will be a really encouraging evening for you. I'm looking forward to sharing things. And one of the things that I believe is very important, we're going to talk about what I'd say are things. Doing this, doing that, activities and plans. If we forget the fact that those are all connected to a process of discipling our young people for the ultimate goal of first their salvation and then their spiritual maturity in Christ, we've just become another school. That is not why we do things. The ultimate goal of everything we talk about tonight is because we have a desire to see our children who are in Christ be a new creation. So as I'm going through these things, would you keep that in mind? And I am very grateful for your students. I appreciate them. They're wonderful young people to interact with. They're polite, they're courteous, they're kind, and they're extremely helpful. I want to show you how helpful your students are. Last week, we did have to cancel school on Monday, and I got this text message from one of our very helpful students, anonymous helpful students. And there's a little bulletin that came along, and so I had to open it up. It said, temperatures drop into the single digits tonight. All this slush snow freezes hard. Salt has little effect. Roads will be icy in the morning. So that was the bulletin. But then it said, I just got some important information. I just wanted to inform you so you can make the right decision for our school in the morning to keep our students safe. Thanks. Public Transportation Coordinator. I didn't know we had that position here, but obviously we do among our students. Well, it doesn't end there. There was a significant amount of texting back and forth, my text and then their text. I still could never get a name. But then last night actually, I got another one being helpful. Looks pretty good out there right now. A little bit slick, but it's supposed to rain, slush, snow all night. So the weather is predicting a very slicky morning. I never heard of slicky either, but I guess it's a word. Wanted to inform you so you could make the right call in the morning. Your EC, Public Transportation Coordinator. I mean, are your students not the most helpful students? I really appreciate that. But you know what? The other thing is I like about it is the idea of working hard and playing hard. I want our students to work hard, whether they're on a sports team, whether they're doing robotics, in some sort of a club, or they're academics. I really do want them to work hard. But I also want to play hard. Having fun like that makes school very, very enjoyable. And it's kind of a neat thing that we can have that kind of a relationship with our young people. And so thank you for coming. I want to talk a little bit about the spiritual aspect here to start out with, because that's what we are about. This is a picture of Owen Lee, who is speaking in chapel for us. We had, for the high school, they have homecoming court. Every student who's represented on the court has to get up and speak in chapel and talk about their testimony. Sometimes the testimony is just, I got saved back at this age and I was baptized, and that was kind of the end of it. This year was dramatically different. They were not just the testimony of I got saved, it was what God was doing in their lives. And that was remarkable. And as we listened to the testimonies of these 12 different young people, I just kept thinking to myself, these are real people with real problems who have a real God. Because they were sharing the problems that they were having. They were talking about how they had depression, how they wanted to commit suicide, one who had been sexually abused, one who was struggling with pornography. Those are real issues to our kids. And I thought, my word, they're getting up in front of 200 students, faculty and staff in the middle and high school, and they're talking about those kind of struggles that they're having as teenagers. And then they followed it up with, and this is what God did in my life to help bring me through this. It was one of the best chapels that I've had here since I've been here. I always love student-led chapels, and when they share what God does, it just lifts my heart. And so that was a real thrill, because this is what we are about. Another thing that encouraged me was a couple weeks back, we happened to have a combined basketball team. Our Emmanuel Christian Junior High girls are combined with the Toledo Christian girls because neither school had enough players to make a full team. And so in our TAC conference, we said, hey, can we do this and get one team out of the two schools and play, and just so our girls can have a team? And said, sure. And so one night, a few weeks back, they were playing here in our gym, and the girl on the Toledo Christian team, Ella, got injured and had a concussion. And we had ambulances out here, took her away. She was fine, but what encouraged me was the next day, all of our girls on our team were wearing these signs on their backs all day long, walking through the halls of our school, pray for Ella. Nobody said, hey, why don't you make this sign? They just did it out of the response of their own hearts, saying, hey, let's promote this. Let's pray for Ella. And I just thought that was great. You know, that's just a little tip of the iceberg of the kind of thing that goes on here day after day after day at Emmanuel Christian School. And I'm really, really encouraged by that. Well, let's talk about what our objectives are. Well, I want to review what we did last year. We talked about some things last year. We put some action plans into place. Want to do that. I also want to talk about education. It is important in my mind that you understand what we're doing and why we're doing. And if you know information, that surely helps you. It helps you in many ways. One is it gives us context to understand what's going on instead of questions. I know that's the way I am. Many people are. If you don't really know, you start to make up questions and wonder, or you make up answers about something. And so I want to communicate good information to you so you can understand where we're at as a school. And then lastly, I want to talk about our action plan. Because really this action plan is not about just one individual like the superintendent, nor is it just about the team of the administration that's here. It is about everybody at Emmanuel Christian School. So I want to review the strengths. These were true last year. You know what? They're true this year too. And I think it's very important that we reflect on this because these are the strengths of our school. First of all, we have a very strong, biblically based philosophy of Christian education. That is why we have Emmanuel Christian School, and that is why we exist. That was the purpose. All schools, whether they're Christian or not, have some sort of a purpose, a function, a mission behind them. But our mission is for the eternal, and it's done through an academic level here. Hang on, my little thing's falling apart. I got to clip it back together. Oh, there it is. Okay, great. We also have a very committed faculty and staff. I have watched them. I've observed them. They are committed to your children. They're committed to spending time with them, and I think that's an important thing. By the way, I know some of you are taking notes. You got the little handout that was given to you there. That has some of that information in. But in 10 days or so, we're going to have this as a video, and you're going to have the slides with this sort of thing, and so you'll have all this, and you can watch me again if you have insomnia or something like that. Okay, that would be helpful. All right, so committed faculty and staff. We're in a stable financial position as a school. Okay? I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but some of the aspects of our school is that we have an endowment to help generate money, interest, that allows us to provide for tuition assistance. And the endowment is about $1.6 million. It's been set aside, and that's good business planning. We also have a stability fund over $200,000. But that doesn't deal with directly the operating expenses, and we'll talk some about that too. But we are in a good financial position, far better than many, many schools. We got great facilities. If you've ever been around here, you can see that. We got a lot of curricular and extracurricular offerings for our school. And then one of the things that's always impressed me is the number of alumni that we have who have re-enrolled their young people here at their school. I mean, you're an alumni, you leave your school and say, hey, I want my kids back in that school because of the impact that it had. So that's the review of the strengths. Next, I want to talk about the spiritual and just give you an overview. Our theme this year is in Christ, as Mr. Flam was saying early on. We are new creations in Christ. For the grades at 6 through 12, we had a 4-day spiritual emphasis week, a little bit longer than what we've had in the past, and that's been good. Through that spiritual emphasis week, we started what we called small groups. And those are where we have the older high school students leading a small group of students that's between the grades 6 and 12. and ministering to them. And Andy Molyneux, our Director of Discipleship, meets with the leaders of those groups. He mentors them, and then those leaders go and mentor within their own little group. And it's all a part of the discipleship process because we train them that way. We have somebody who is mature and experienced training somebody else who then goes and trains another person. We've got a lot of service opportunities, and we believe that service is the key to discipleship, or a key to the discipleship, because it trains our hearts a great deal. To be able to serve somebody trains us in our hearts. And you know, at the Last Supper, Jesus served his disciples when he demonstrated that by washing their feet. And so service opportunities are a big part of that. And then we are evaluating a new senior Bible curriculum. Not that we would change the curriculum, but we would use a different textbook that we think might enable us to be able to teach what we already have in a better way. And so we're looking at that also. Next is academics. Do you remember I said last year that we want to start some ACT prep sessions? That's that college test that high school students as juniors and seniors go and take. And we felt that our scores were not high enough. And so we enacted ACT prep sessions right in the middle of the school year. So once a month, each grade, 9 through 12, gets 2 prep sessions. And that's been going on all this year also, and we're going to continue that. But I want to say our scores are up. Now, did those prep sessions that started in February change those scores for our students last year? I don't know that I can say that. And I can say it's going to take a number of years to bring the scores up to a high level that they've plateaued at where we want to get them to. But it is encouraging to say, hey, this year's are up, or this year as in the graduates of 2014 there. And you can see those numbers are much higher than what they were in the past. And so that's a good indication to me and very encouraging. And we're going to continue to pursue our students doing better academically. And this is one measure of how we can know how they're doing. The PSEO is a program for high school students. It's called the Post-Secondary Educational Options. It's really a dual enrollment program. And we want to promote this more, but what it does, it lets a student in the high school earn college credit at the same time earning high school credit. It counts for both, and they get the college credit. Think about that. Your young person is getting college credit. That means they don't have to take those classes in college. Occasionally, a student can get a semester of college done. Once in a while, even a full year of college done if they're really strong in that area. The state of Ohio, this is whose program it is, and by the way, that's paid for by your tax dollars that you're already paying. So it's not an additional cost for you to send your kid to college and do the dual enrollment. But they've changed the name of the program for the state level. What was the PSEO is now called College Credit Plus. And it's opening up more opportunities for 9th through the 12th graders. Part of the reason is it's relaxing the requirements for 9th and 10th graders. It's also, think of this, it's also giving opportunities to 7th and 8th graders who demonstrate some college level ability. Now that's kind of rare. But once in a while you got a kid that comes along and they're really gifted. And they could, as a 7th or 8th grader, take a certain subject in a certain area. And so that's great news for us because we've got a few students within our school who are not on the same track as all the other students in their grade because they're more advanced in a certain area. Not across the board, but just in a certain area. And so they're going to possibly be able to take these as young students. The other thing that's nice about this program is that you can take it in 3 ways. One is online. So they could have a period in their schedule as a high school student, and so every 3rd period, they just go to the computer and they do that class online, which is a pretty great thing. Another option would be on campus, and what I mean by that is teachers here at our school could become adjunct professors of a college or university, and then they could teach that curriculum in our classroom, and they would allow them to get the dual credit. And so that's a possibility. The other one that's a little more challenging is the off-campus one because they've got to drive away, they've got to leave school, they've got to come back, and the driving time cuts into their regular school day. Usually college classes are 3 days a week or 2 days a week, so it messes up a college or a high school schedule. But the other two, online and on campus, are real possibilities there. So I'm encouraged by the College Credit Plus. It is a brand new program. We're still learning about it ourselves. Just last week, Mr. Flam and I sat through an hour-long webinar about this program. But they put out some rules in January about it, how it's going to work, and there is a link there, and we'll be getting that link to you if you're interested in that. But really, one of our goals is to see our students graduating with some college credits, and we think that's possible for them to be able to do. So that's some things on the academic side. Another thing was college trips. You remember last year we talked about college trips, the career program, the guidance program. We said we wanted to start to do more for our students. That came out in our Re-Accreditation surveys too, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we started some college trips. This year, we took all the juniors and seniors to Cedarville University, a 2-day, 1-night trip, and they got a feel for college. They got to stay overnight in a dorm room. They got to attend classes. They got some seminars that were presented to them. They got to eat in the food court. It's a court. If you went to college long ago, it was just like cafeteria line. Now it's a full food court, what they have there, and it's great, and it's all you can eat. So anyways, we did that. The 9th and 10th graders went to the University of Toledo and spent a day there learning about it. Next year, we'll change the program. We did it this way because we had never taken anybody 9 through 12 in this way. And so we're going to change the program a little bit for next year. Freshmen next year are going to take a day trip to local universities. It's probably going to be University of Toledo or BG, one of those two. And then the sophomores, though, they are going to end up going on what we call a long day trip. They're going to travel a few hours away, get up early in the morning, come back late at night, and that'll be to another Christian college or university within driving distance. The juniors are going to go through and go to a Christian college or university and do an overnighter, 2-day, 1-night type of thing. And then the seniors, they can still go on trips, but they're going to be on their own. We encourage them to continue to visit colleges and universities, but they've already been to 3 through us. They should be honing in on one college or university that they think they should be going to, and they do have to apply to that college or university to make sure that that happens, So I want to make sure they're putting in an application. So that's a little bit with academics. We also incorporated the school fee last year. And let me remind you, the school fees concept was to incorporate that in with the billing process of the things that we charge you for anyways every single year. We had fees for the school supplies. We had fees for the retreats and some of these things that are up here. And we would come to you and say, okay, now it's time for you to send in a check for this much. And then a few months would go by and we need some more money. We need some more money. We need some more money. And we wanted to streamline this as a convenience to you where you just pay a certain amount, $5 for elementary, $10 for a high school student, and we're not coming back to you. And I hope that you've noticed a difference that, when the retreats came for the middle and high school, I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to write a check. And so we trust that you see that we're trying to accommodate you, make it easier for you, make it convenient for you. The bottom line is you would still be, in a sense, spending this money for these things that were here at school. And I want to talk a moment about how the school fee ties in, because we're going to share something new that we're adding that I think is going to be helpful for you. I really believe that that we demonstrate love by how we treat people. As an individual, if I'm being kind to you and generous to you and nice to you, that's a demonstration of love. As an institution, we also can show love, but it's kind of done in a different way. It's typically done through the processes that we have, through the procedures that we have. Do we make you jump through a lot of hoops to get something done, or are we trying to streamline it? And that's really what I want you to see in the school fee. We are trying to be loving towards you by demonstrating this and saying, okay, let's streamline things and make it as smooth as possible. And so I believe it's important, and we look at things, we go back and say, what's the biblical principle that lays the foundation for what we're doing here? And I would say a demonstration of love would be a part of the school fee aspect here. All right, re-accreditation. I mentioned that we're going through re-accreditation. We started that process last spring, and we are working on that process still. The re-accreditation is going to be for 3 things. One is ACSI, Association of Christian Schools International, that accreditation process. Advanced Ed accreditation. Advanced Ed would be considered a secular type of accreditation, but it also gives us credibility in the eyes of the rest of our community, people who are not Christians. ACSI accreditation for us as Christians is a great thing. It's well developed, it's very rigorous, it's very good for us to go through, but the rest of the educational world, non-Christians, don't know what that is, and they don't know what the standards are, and so it doesn't raise it up to a high level of credibility in their mind. Advanced Ed, though, is what they're familiar with. In the secular world of education. And so that brings us credibility by that. The other thing is when we go through this accreditation process, it automatically ties into our state accreditation, because if we have these, then we're okay for state accreditation also. So let's look at a few things that we've learned through accreditation. First of all, some of the positives that we have had on accreditation. One is we've studied ourselves, and did you take the survey? How many took the survey last year? We sent out a parent survey? Okay, a few of you did. All right. We got 100 and some surveys back from parents, and we appreciate that. But one of the things that really resonated was the fact that we have a strong commitment to Christian education philosophy. And that was very encouraging to me, that our families could see that coming through so strongly, because that's what we're about. Excellent facilities was another thing that was acknowledged that we have here on our campus. We're solid in technology. You know, we have 2 computer labs. Every classroom has at least one computer. A number of them have a few computers. A few of them have a whole set of computers in them. Excuse me. We also have carts both in the elementary and 3 carts in the high school where they're filled with laptops. We can roll those carts in there and use them within the classroom. And we also have smart boards in all of our classrooms too. Another thing that came out was loving, caring faculty. You said that the teachers here care about your children. And that's important to us, and we're glad that you saw that. And then friendships rose high. Friendships. And here's where I really noticed it, was in the student surveys. The students got surveyed. Every student in the school got to take a survey. And they overwhelmingly mentioned friendships, friendships, friendships. And it wasn't just my friends in my class. Another thing we noted was, I'm friends with my teacher. They treat me as a friend. I get along with them very well. I like my teacher. That was tremendously encouraging. Now, here's some things that we can improve on. Areas for growth. So let's talk about those quickly. Stronger academics. Well, we've already said that we're working on those, and that is something that we need to work on. One of the things that we're doing right now through accreditation is we are analyzing the test scores that we get. I'm not referring to the tests that we take within the classroom, but I'm talking to the different types of standardized testing. And we have to fill that out as a part of our accreditation process is student performance. And so we're looking deeply at those and how we can improve. If you were in the high school, you know that we changed the exam schedule. We went through from a 3-day schedule to a 4-day schedule. And there were 2 reasons for that. One was so that we could allow the students to have 2 exams in the morning, in the afternoon for study time. 2 more exams, afternoon for study, 2 more. Versus going all school day long, taking 3 exams, and then having to go home at night and study for 3 more the next day. So that was part of it. The other aspect, though, is that we want to change the type of exam. We want our young people to be taking exams that tend to lean more now towards higher level thinking skills. And in order to do that, you typically have a test then that includes a different style of question, and it's going to take more thought to answer it, and it's going to take more time to answer it, and it's going to take a teacher more time to grade. And so we began that process with the high school teachers on how do we begin to transform our semester exams so that they can do a better job of assessing what our students know. We don't want it to be a repeat of just the same kind of chapter test that they've had all through the semester. If they've had 1 semester of content in a subject area, it should be an integrated exam that takes what they were learning at the beginning of the semester through the middle and through the end and puts it all together. And so it really takes a lot of work to create a different exam like that and also then to grade that. And so that's another reason that we went to a different exam schedule. And we're also looking at curriculum. Are there changes that we could make with the curriculum that would help us? We mentioned the Bible. Mr. Farley's also looking at elementary science. Should we consider changing to a different science curriculum there? Another thing that we are doing is organizational structure and governance study. And I'll talk more about that later, so I'll move on. Then college, career, and preparation. Already mentioned that, but that's in the re-accreditation process. So that's come up again. But we're going to be able to say, here are the things that we are doing. Improving communication. That was one of the goals last year. I want to tell you that a lot of you have come to me personally and said, I like how you're communicating. We're getting more and more information. I'm grateful for that. From my perspective, we have done a lot better, but I've got a few areas where I'd like to see us continue to grow, and so we're going to keep trying to make that a stronger area also. Doing a meeting like this is a part of improving communication. More respectfulness. This was interesting. primarily this came out of the surveys that we took internally, faculty and staff and the students. And it was interesting to see that this concept of being respectful, even though there was a lot of we're friends with everybody, there were certain aspects that said we need to treat each other with respect. And what I thought was interesting, it was respect all across the board in whatever relationship was mentioned. It could be student to student, could be student to teacher, could be teacher to student, just across the board. And so that's an area where we want to improve in. Another thing I want to mention is the lunch program, okay? That came up on the survey over and over and over again. We are aware of the lunch program, so I just want to put it on the table. The lunch program that we have here is dictated by the FDA, okay? The requirements of what can be served, how much can be served, the balance of nutrition from a bread to a vegetable to a meat to protein, etc., all that is dictated. The portion sizes that you can have. And, you know, as kids or even adults, we would say if it's good, then it probably can't get on there. You know, that's kind of the way that it is. So the lunch program we have would be what you would be able to get about anywhere, because those are the regulations of what you can do during the school day when you're selling a meal. Okay? There's no way around it. Now, concessions, we can do concessions. It's after the school day. We can sell whatever we want up there. So I go get a greasy hamburger, you know, that adds cholesterol to me. And that tastes really good. I like it. By the way, you know we got some of the best concessions you can find in the Toledo area. So after this meeting, you want to get up there. Okay. But the lunch program really is dictated by the FDA regulations, and everything has to be accounted for and recorded. And, you know, if the health inspector comes in, checks that stuff, it's got to be right. And so that's why we've gone to catering it, because it was so time-consuming and so difficult to stay on top of all the regulations. So the point is, not a whole lot we can do about it. Bring a good lunch. That's what I would say. All right. Ohio High School Athletic Association. We mentioned that we were going to join. We've done that. We're in our probationary year, and so we are members in probation. This June, the OSHA will make a decision, the formal final decision as to whether we get full membership. We do not know of anything that's holding us back from getting that membership, and so we are looking forward to being able to do that. The other thing here that I'm very excited about is getting back involved in the state tournaments. I've been at 2 schools that have moved from being non-members to members and getting involved in the tournaments, whether it's the soccer and the volleyball, the golf, the cross-country, your winter sports, your spring sports. It becomes a very exciting time. And I know that you're going to enjoy that. And if you got young people or even elementary, bring them out to those games. The spirit shoots through the roof. So I'm looking forward to those games. All of our coaches are now OSHA certified. All of them had to take hours of coaching seminars and get certified in order to do that. And so that improves our program too, that our coaches have gone through that. And then lastly, we're going to have a lot of opportunity for recognition, OSHA recognition, that is, for our players and our coaches. Enrollment. One of the things we want to do is to turn the decline, and we've kind of done that by 3 students. Okay, we've kind of plateaued, and we're looking to get that turning upward going into this next year. And so that's where our enrollment is there. Marketing. You may have noticed that we've been marketing, branding, advertising, trying to get our name out there. And so we've done it in a couple different ways. One is we've shared the new seal. We've gone with a EC logo, which is kind of our extracurricular logo, especially with sports. And then we've got a shield here, which is more or less kind of our in between. It's the semi-formal thing that we'll use on some of our documentation there. But we're trying to get that out so that when the community sees these, they know exactly who we are and what we stand for. We've done some other things, open houses, advertising on the radio, TV, print media, Facebook, YouTube. How many of you got a Facebook and are connected to Emmanuel for Facebook there? Oh, wow, great. That's good. A lot of people put up photos there. That's where I get to see my kids on that. All right, another thing we're doing. Okay, kindergarten readiness seminar. This is something new. This is different in the sense that this is a community outreach. It is not just for families that might enroll here at Emmanuel. We're making this known to everybody. It's going to be put on by Mr. Farley and our 2 kindergarten teachers, Jana Mathieson and Judy Stuckey, and it is open to anybody. And if you look on the back table, we've got these little, is your child ready for kindergarten? It's got a little bus there. On the other side it says, don't miss the bus. You are welcome to take these to anybody that you know. Or maybe you got a child at a preschool and just say, hey, can I leave 5 or 10 of these here at the preschool? There might be people that want to know about this. And basically what this is, it's how do I know if my child's ready for kindergarten? What is kindergarten testing like when we go to either our school or any school? And then how can I help my child get ready for kindergarten? And so we want to be promoting that, and we could use your involvement with that also. Another thing would be our Christian Education Partnership and Christian Education Sundays. There's a flyer in the back, and this is really a call. When I talk about Team EC, where's my piece of paper? A little bit later on, this is where we're asking everybody in our community to be involved and to help. And so there's some flyers back there. I'm trying to draw together the Christian media, which we've got a good number of. We've got a newspaper here, a few radio stations, a TV station, trying to draw them together to partner with the Christian schools in the area, not just ours, but the Christian schools in this area, and then also with the churches. And one of the things I'm asking the churches to do is, would you host a Christian Education Sunday? Would you allow the Christian schools in the area to come in and set up their displays tables? So Emmanuel goes and sets up theirs, and Toledo Christian, Monclova Christian, or Lenawee Christian, or whoever was invited to that church can go. And then also, it's bigger than just that. It's colleges and universities that could come and set up their display tables. And here's part of the reason for doing it that way. If you ask a church, would you let us put up a display table, they're reluctant. One of the reasons they are, and makes sense, is the fact that they don't want to show favoritism. And I understand that fully. They've got a congregation where they've got kids that are in all kinds of schools. So it might be public, it might be private, it might be 3 or 4 Christian schools, and they don't want to show a favoritism. But one of the things that I found them to jump on board with is the idea of a Christian Education Sunday. Hey, I'm going to present this where you could bring in a lot of Christian schools. You could bring in colleges and universities. And so this is a flyer for that. And I would encourage you to think about this idea, and you being the representative of Emmanuel, to go to your pastor or your church leadership and say, would you guys consider this concept here? And you can put them in touch with me, and I can lay it out for them. And that would be a great thing to promote, not only our school, but Christian education in general. So that's some of the marketing. Here's something new that we're rolling out. We have had, over the years, international students at our school, anywhere from 5 to 10. But typically, they've come to us and knocked on our door and said, hey, could we work this out? And we've had a program. We have not had an aggressive program where we go out and make connections and say, hey, would you like to come to our school? And so we've revamped the whole program here. And we have Mrs. Tiffany Coulter right back there. Wave your hand, Tiffany. Okay. And she is going to be our International Student Program Director for that program. And maybe you've got a desire to say, hey, I'd love to host an international student. Because the real idea here is you now can be a missionary without even leaving your own home. You can bring the world into you and let them live with you and see what it is to be a believer in Jesus Christ. So are you ready to be a host family? Here would be the expectation. First of all, you've got to look at this as a ministry. I'm going to be serving this individual or 2 individuals if they're coming into my home. And I'll tell you right off the bat, you will be inconvenienced when you do this. Just like we're inconvenienced with our own family at times, right? You probably will be annoyed at some point. Just like we annoy one another in our own family. Okay? But it's to minister to them. What a great way to do that. But focus on that. It's a ministry. The other thing is, you'd have to take care of them. You would have to provide transportation. International students are not allowed to drive vehicles. You would have to drive them everywhere. Even if they're 18 years old and senior, you'd have to drive them. You got to give them meals. You got to feed them, okay? They're going to be hungry. And then you want to give them some American experiences. Some families say, hey, you know what? Christmas break, you're not flying back to China. You're coming with us. We're going to Minnesota or wherever, Florida for vacation. And they go right along with them. And they get that experience. Or maybe the experience is going to an amusement park or taking them to the Toledo Zoo or something like that. Experiences that they may not have ever had before. Maybe it's just taking a boat trip out on Lake Erie. Another aspect is that we do have some housing standards. There are some qualifications with the agencies that we're working for or they're connected with and say, hey, you have to have some housing standards. One would be like they have to have their own private bedroom. And so that would be one of the standards there. The other thing, though, there is compensation for you. This is not all out of your pocket. you would be compensated $900 a month for having that student. Typically, it's 10 months. Occasionally, we've got to extend that because they don't fly home in the summer, and you keep them all summer long, and we make arrangements for that if they stay longer. But typically, it's 10-month span, and it's $900 a month for them to be a part of that. But that's a great ministry. It's a ministry in their lives, but it also can be transforming in your own life, too. So that's a new program that we're really pushing. Governance is another thing, and I mentioned earlier we would be talking about this. I am very excited. Excited because I see a desire to make our school very, very strong. As you know, Emmanuel Christian School is sponsored by, formed by, created by, in 1967, Emmanuel Baptist Church. And it has oversight of our school for all those years. But one of the things that they are realizing is, hey, the school has reached a maturity level. There's a lot of things that they function independently on. And so they are looking at what can we do to keep the church strong, keep the school strong, and make each one of them become even stronger. And so they're looking at how are we organized? How do we go through processes and procedures? Now, what I can say that's interesting is most of the things that might change that we're in discussions about, we've been doing this since June of last summer, you probably would not ever really see any change because it's at a leadership level. It's at a meeting level. It's at a decision-making level. Because we still go through and make, I believe, very, very good decisions. But they're looking, can we make it more efficient, more effective that way? And so I appreciate that. And I just want to mention that in the state of Ohio, there are formally 3 types of nonprofit organizations. And so here I want to share these with you. Here are the 3 types. Nonprofit organizations. Type 1 is what we are. We are a ministry of a local church. Type 2 is a ministry of the church, but it operates independent of the church. Has its own board, makes its own decisions, functions that way, even though it's a ministry, but it's pretty much on its own with very, very little oversight. Type 3, it's an independent. It is not connected directly to any type of a church. And we were open to looking at all 3 of those, saying what would be best for the church or the school. And right now we've realized that type 3 would not be feasible at this time. We've also said, you know what? Let's not be so closed-minded that we excluded type 3 right now and we'd never consider it again in the future. That may become a possibility 5, 10, 15 years from now, that we'd say, hey, is that a possibility now? So we've kind of been looking at type 2, or type 1 and 2. And we're looking at a pro and con, is what we're really saying. The pros of type 1, the cons of type 1, the pros of type 2, the cons of type 2. Which do we think would be the best for both the church and the school? Now, no final decisions have been made on that. It's still going through a process. If there were changes to be made, those would have to go through the church and through the leadership down there. So I just wanted to let you know that the church is looking to strengthen this school, the church leadership. And I'm encouraged by that because they're saying we want this school to get better and better and better. And you ought to be encouraged by that very fact, too. Another aspect we want to talk about is finances, okay? This is where we really get into it, and we're all wondering what's going on here. Okay, last year we implemented a plan to balance family financial needs with rising tuition costs. Do you remember me talking about that? We implemented a plan. We know tuition went up last year, and yet we also know what's going on in our economy in this Toledo area. And we said we've got to balance that, and we've got to do 2 things simultaneously. Yes, we do have to raise tuition. We've got to be able to do that. But we've also got to meet the needs of those that have a need. And so we began to increase tuition assistance. And we said that we were going to increase the amount of tuition assistance made available to our families to help them out. And I want to say that I'm very grateful that we've been able to do that. And here's what we were able to do. We doubled the amount of tuition assistance that we were able to give our families. We were at $120,000 last year. This year we've given over $240,000 to help meet the needs. Now, I think this is very important that you understand this concept because when we talk about increasing tuition because there's a need there, we do need to do that. But I don't want you to think that's all we're doing. At the same time, we're over here saying we got another need to meet, and that's helping families that have a true financial need. And we're going to work our tails off to help them. Those things are going on simultaneously. You can't say, hey, you're just giving everything away and giving tuition assistance. You're not doing anything on the tuition end either. We're doing both of them simultaneously because that's good business practice to do that. And we're trying to meet the needs of those that actually have true financial needs to be in the Christian school. And so I guess I want you to know we are putting our money where our mouth is and saying when we said we were going to do this, we actually got through and did that. The other thing I think is important to understand our demographics. What I mean is the Toledo area. Maybe you're not familiar with this information. It came from the U.S. Census Bureau. But the household income, the median household income for a family in the Toledo area, by the way, the Toledo statistical area is Lucas County and the 3 adjacent counties, okay? So it's a 4-county area. The median household income is $43,000. Think about that. I got a couple kids. I'd like to send them to Christian school. That's going to be $12,000 to send them, plus incidentals. And all of a sudden I'm taking 25% of my income in order to send them to Christian school. That is incredibly challenging, is it not? It really is. That's why we need tuition assistance. Here's another statistic we learned from the Census Bureau. 72% of this geographical area, their income is $75,000 or less. That's a huge population. That means only, 28% is above $75,000. We are not in a wealthy demographic area here. And that's why I believe tuition assistance is important. I don't know if you pay attention to what other schools are doing, but I always try to observe what's going on. And I can tell you this, I'm watching the other schools, the other private schools in this area say, we got to provide more tuition assistance. We got to provide more. Even the consortium of the elementary Catholic schools, I saw a news thing on the public channel, WGTE, is that it? Anyways, they did a little special about the fact that they recognize we got to start helping our needy families with tuition assistance. This is not just something that's hitting us, it's hitting every private school in this area. Okay, the cost of education in Manual Christian School. We have expenses and we have revenue. And as you can see, the cost is above the revenue. And so the difference is $355. That's for this year. So we've got to make up that amount. We can either do it for fundraising, and I sent you a letter back in the fall about that, and here's our need. Please give to greatest need or tuition assistance to help out. But we've got to make up that gap there. That's for last year. This year, it's even increased. Okay? It's gone up to $820. There's our average. I should say it's projected, but our projected cost is $69.38, and then we've got our revenue, and there's the difference for that. So what do you make of that? What do you make of that difference? Well, I think a lot of what you make of it depends on your perspective. Here's what I say. Well, I got to do 2 clicks. I say we're making an investment. We're making an investment. I believe that you're beginning to see changes happening here at this school. Are you not? I'm having people come up and, hey, I like what I see going on. I like the progress, the steps that we're taking. And so I see this as an investment, not an expense. And I love this. I was looking for something that would do the glass half full, half empty. We're the ones with our heads in the water there, okay? You got the pessimist there with his head out of the water. All right. A little more on the financial here. We hope to give a raise next year. This year, we did not give our teachers, our employees of the school, a raise. Some of this data is right in that brochure there. No raises were given this year. We have 28 faculty, 13 support staff, 5 that are in the administration. The average teaching experience here is 15.5 years. That's a good, healthy number there for average teaching experience. And the average teacher salary, though, is $30,000. Remember when I said the median income is $43,000? Our teachers are at $36,226, $654. They're even below that as far as their average salary that they're getting here. A great value. Emmanuel Christian School is a great value. There is no doubt in my mind. I've got my kids here. I see the value of having my own children here, and I see what the teachers, the faculty, the staff are putting into the lives of my kids, and I am very, very grateful for that. They're also getting a spiritual education in addition to the academic education. You ever wonder where we fit compared to the other schools in the area as far as tuition? I think we do a great job. Those are the tuitions of the schools for this year, taken out of the Toledo Business Journal. And as you can see, we're at the bottom middle section down there. Think of the facilities we have. Think of the faculty that we have. Think of what your kids are getting here in comparison to this. I think they're getting as good as any of those that are up there that are much more costly there. So as we pay a tuition, keep thinking about the value that we're getting, because we are giving a great value here at Emmanuel Christian School. Re-enrollment, that's coming up here, and that starts tomorrow morning. And I'll be sending an email out after this meeting. I still have work to do, and I'll be sending an email out with some information regarding re-enrollment. But for the discounted re-enrollment, it starts tomorrow, and it closes on Sunday, March 15 at midnight. Right, Mr. Farley? At midnight, okay? Can't do it at 1 a.m. It's $75 per student. The tuition increase this year will be 4%. The school fee stays the same as it's been. And then here's where I want to talk about streamlining, trying to make things convenient for you, an act of love in my mind. But some are challenged. If you got 3 or 4 kids and you say, oh, great, I got to get all this money up. I've got 4 kids and $300 more in order to re-enroll. Here's something that we trust will be helpful for you, is that you will be able to re-enroll and spread your payments out over 3 months if you need to do that. That's your option. And as you go through the re-enrollment process, there's going to be a button, yeah, I can pay it all right now, or no, I'd like the 3-month plan. Now, what you do need to know is if you're going on the 3-month plan, you're going to click that, but then you're going to have to contact Ms. Coulter back there, who's our accounts receivable also. She's the one doing the international student program. And she'll help walk through that process and reset the facts so that you can get into the 3-month plan. But that's going to be an option for you to be able to pay it over 3 months instead of having to pay it all in one lump sum there. Well, that'll come out. Financial, what's our plan? Well, we want to continue to use tuition assistance in response to tuition rates. We're not going to just say, hey, this is where we're at. We want to continue to meet the needs of this area. Also, we want to continue to grow our endowment. There's no reason to stop growing that. The endowment's at about $1.6 million. We want to keep it moving forward and get that up to more millions of dollars, because that'll be a big help. We're also going to continue to fundraise for tuition assistance and ask people to give. If you are interested in giving and you got a heart for that, there's a brochure out on the back table right there by Mrs. Lawson, and in there is a little card. It says, hey, I'd like to give. And maybe your giving's not a one-time gift. Maybe you say, hey, I'd like to get on a monthly plan. You know, I want to give $25, $50 a month. And maybe your place of business actually can do this. I've been at schools where businesses will take right from your paycheck and send it directly to the Christian school. Maybe your place of business does that. Do you know if your place of business is a matching gift donor? Have you checked that out? One place I was at, we would get every quarter about a $10,000, $15,000 check, because individuals that work for that company would either have it out of their payroll, paycheck, or they would just give a gift, and then the match would come into us, and every quarter we get $10,000 to $15,000 being matched by that organization, that company, because they had a matching gift program. We want to continue to promote enrollment. That's one of the biggest things that can be done to help Emmanuel Christian School. It does bring in financial, but it does a whole lot more than that. And those are added benefits to our school to have more students here. And we want to continue to strengthen our programs here. Here's where it comes Team EC. Team EC, in my mind, is all of us working together. One of the things that we've recognized is that though Emmanuel Baptist Church founded and sponsors the school, as times have changed, we've seen a shift. The majority of our students do not go to Emmanuel Baptist Church. 70% of them go to churches other than Emmanuel Baptist Church. 30% comes from our own church there. And so we want to continue to get everybody involved, because it's not just the church or the 30% anymore. It's 100%. All of us need to be involved in this. And so I'm asking for your involvement, for you taking initiative and saying, I'm going to get behind Emmanuel Christian School. I want you to know we're going to continue to pursue discipleship. That's very important. That is the reason that we exist. That's our mission. We're also going to continue to strengthen the academics. We want to be able to get stronger and stronger in that. Increasing enrollment, continue the fundraising also. Team EC, Christian Education Sundays. I've already mentioned those, but that would be a huge thing for our school and for the other schools in the area. I firmly believe that there is enough Christian population in the Toledo area to fill every one of our Christian schools that are around here to capacity without any school fighting and having competition. I think we could fill every one of them. And I think there's a need there for our Christian families to have their children in Christian schools. Another one would be promote our open house. We've got cards in the back. They look like this. They got an open Bible on them. Take those. Take them to your place of business. Give them to somebody that you know might have an interest. A Christian family says, hey, I think you ought to check out Emmanuel Christian School. It's where my kids go. Take these cards. We got plenty of those that you could pass out. Another thing, kindergarten readiness seminar. I mentioned that. Take those cards. If you're on Facebook, like us and friend us and share us and whatever those things do. And send us out to your grandparents, you know. There are grandparents that are actually into this kind of thing. And get as many people connected through Facebook there. Some other things we can be doing. International students. If you could host international students, that would be a positive thing for our school and for your family. The marketing and sponsorship opportunities. One of the things that we're doing is putting together a booklet where businesses, local businesses, can sponsor programs within our school, primarily our fine arts and our athletics. And this booklet talks about that. And so maybe you're a part of a business. Maybe you've got your own business. You say, hey, I want to get in there and I want to sponsor Emmanuel at the bronze level, or I want to go up to the platinum level. Or no, I just want to do some a la carte individual pricing things. You are free to take these for yourself, or you may know of other people, and that would be a great way to help our school. Emmanuel Fund Giving. Those are the cards that I've already mentioned that are in this brochure here. And most importantly, pray. That's really the most important thing. All of our work is for naught unless God is involved in it. God's the one that can do it. God's the one who has the cattle on 1,000 hills. God has never worried about money in his life, but I bet a lot of us have. But God doesn't worry about money. Nothing catches him by surprise. It wasn't like, oh, I didn't know that one was coming. God's not that way. He knows exactly what's happening. But we need to partner with God in prayer and make sure that our mission is connected to his mission. And it will not fail. So please be in prayer. I do ask for your patience and understanding. As we move forward and we're trying to do new things and to improve, we will have some glitches. Things don't always work out. This 3-month spread your enrollment fee out, I think we got it down right. But we may find out, oops, it didn't work the way we thought it would. So be patient with us. Be understanding that we're trying to do the best we can to improve Emmanuel Christian School. Also, 3 to 5 years. One of my philosophies, but also leadership studies and research has said, in order to get a good foundation of things to turn the culture, to change the tide of things, it takes 3 to 5 years to get something turned around in most cases. And so as we look at what we're doing, we're in the middle of my second year. I've been here a year and a half. So I got another year and a half to go before I even hit that 3 years there. But it might take 5 years in some areas in order to develop things and make things really strong. So we need to be patient. I'm not a real patient person. I would like things to change like that right away. And I've got to slow myself down. I also want you to know my door is open. Whether you leave this meeting now and you got all kinds of questions and I want some answers, come see me. Schedule an appointment. I'll be glad to meet with you and talk with you. My door is open to listen to your suggestions, your comments, your concerns, answer questions. Okay? That's the kind of school that we want to be. We want to be a school of open communication, sharing with you and partnering with you for our children's sake. And then lastly here, I want to thank you for coming. I know most of you were waiting to see what I got on the Spanish 3 exam. If you haven't caught the trail of that, since 3 schools ago, I've been taking Spanish with my students. And so I started out when I lived in Illinois going to Spanish 1. Sitting in as many classes as I could, taking the test, doing the homework. Then I moved up to Spanish 2, and now I'm in Spanish 3. And so I just kind of keep it a running joke. It is hard, let me tell you. The older you get, the harder it is to learn. And so I'm trying to do that, but I pass. My goal is to pass. You know what, like 65? And that's good. And I'm really happy about this one because from the Christmas break until the semester exam, I only studied one night. Didn't do any homework. I was just too busy with my real job. But I got an 83. I was so happy. It wasn't the best grade in the class by any means, but I was really happy with that. So, okay, and at this time, Mr. Farley is going to come up and close in prayer. Mr. Farley is our elementary principal. We're grateful to have him for a part of our team. I'm going to be hanging around. You can come talk to me, and I'll stay here as late as you want to. So if we're here till 3 a.m., I'll be here till 3 a.m. Well, my son will want to go home. And then the table's back there. Please take the time to look over the items in the table.